On November 9th, I decided to revisit an old dream of mine. Live in LA. So I drove 5 hours down to Los Angeles. I got to learn things I've always wanted to learn, or at least I tried. The views, the food. Damn, look how big those fries are. What the heck, dude? Damn, again. Damn. The conversations.
I'm falling into the same trap that I had before I even went to LA.
I think it would definitely be something, I don't know.
They expect you to make videos. They expect you to churn out content.
This trip honestly did feel like a dream to me.
That's so massive.
It really felt like I had lived there.
Roger.
I am more confident than ever to make that dream a reality. Just not quite yet. Alright, so I'm back home. It's been a week already. I'm gonna try to get better at this, at looking in front of the camera. It's so hard to look into the camera. Like, my eyes usually just wander, but I'm gonna try my best and look into the camera. So we're gonna see how this goes. Yeah. What is this? Yeah. Alright, so I really wanted to take the time to reflect about my solo trip to LA 1 week later and just talk about the different things that I've learned from that trip. This is just unscripted, raw, pure emotions, nothing planned. Yeah, let's do this. This is so uncomfortable for me. This is not easy. I don't know how people do it, but I'm gonna try. Alright, so the first thing that I learned from my trip to LA, one of the biggest things, honestly, where it all stems from for me, is the people. The people that I was able to meet, the people that I was able to catch up with. The common thing that really stood out to me about the people in LA is that I was surprised that I was genuinely able to meet people that are genuine, and I think that caught me by surprise because I think most of us have this perception of LA and it's just people being fake, but the people that I was able to meet during this trip, I didn't get that sense of people being fake, so it definitely caught me by surprise. So I think that there are really good people. I feel like just even anywhere that you go, you're bound to find good people. A saying that I've heard a long time ago is, your vibe attracts your tribe. And I think that naturally people will gravitate towards your energy and your personality, whichever personality that you give off. Hopefully you attract others that are receptive to that kind of personality. I love seeing people being passionate about what they do. It really stood out to me. And to be around that kind of energy, it was so contagious. Like, it made me feel like, oh my gosh, this is my people. I guess being in San Jose, in Silicon Valley, I kind of just see a lot of more people pursuing that 9 to 5, and some of them do like it, but also there's many of them that also don't like it, and they're not necessarily passionate about what they do, but they're just doing what they're good at or what they're more comfortable with. But I think in the LA and Los Angeles, it being a more creative and artistic route that people are pursuing, like, they actually really love what they're doing, and it's really cool to see that. And I think that's the kind of energy that I want to explore and be and immerse myself into, and just kind of collaborate with people of that kind of energy. And I just remember someone that I met down there, she was asking me about my trip, and she was asking like, what foods did I enjoy the most during my trip? Like, what did I eat and stuff? And I told her, like, I honestly don't remember what I ate during the trip, because for me, just going down there and taking that trip for me was about the people and learning about what they do and why they do it. And I think that's something that stood out to me a lot. I feel like during each conversation that I had with each person, I gained something a little different in terms of like new information, new perspective. So a big highlight of that trip for me, for sure, was the people. So shout out to everybody that I got to meet, even if it was for a little bit, for a long conversation. I thank you guys so much for being a part of that trip. It was a special trip for me, and I thank you for just, taking the time to talk to me. I'm just grateful. The second lesson that I have to share, it's a pretty big lesson that I got during this trip, and something that's been important for me to learn during this season that I'm in. Shout out to my friend Aaron for really wording it in this way that made me really receptive to this message. He told me about breathing in your imperfections. So just think about that. Breathe in imperfections. What does that mean? And for me, it means being able to love myself through my imperfections. It doesn't mean that I necessarily love my imperfections, but I am loving myself despite having these imperfections. That having these imperfections doesn't make me feel any less than anyone else, that I can still be lovable, that I can still love myself, that I'm deserving of love despite these imperfections. And I think the hardest part for me is when I do struggle with different problems in my life and I feel a lot of shame and guilt, and it's the complete opposite of loving myself through my imperfections. Instead, I am feeling bad for these imperfections and my struggles and my faults that I am messing up again and again, of habits that I've wanted to change for a long time. And I just think that it's just human for us to mess up, to have these imperfections. And I think these imperfections just make our story uniquely our story. And they're what makes our life special and unique from each other, our unique imperfections. And I think that a lot of us kind of get caught up in hiding these imperfections, and we're used to just going on social media where it's mostly showing what's perfect and what's the highlight, what's that Instagram story, but our real story truly consists of imperfections, and we usually don't like to show them, but I feel like it's what makes us relate to each other as humans, and it's what makes us human. For me, learning to love myself despite messing up, despite doing things that, whether it's hurting myself, whether it's hurting someone that I love, that even that imperfection, it's okay, because we all mess up. And I think it's knowing how we can respond to ourselves when we do mess up. Do we want to cover ourselves with more guilt and more shame, or do we want to love ourselves through it, that we still can learn from this, that we can still grow from this, that now we know better, that there's still room for us to grow and change. Just learning how we love ourselves through the journey of growing, and that is just so important. And it's something hard for me to share. Even talking about this like this, I feel like I'm so used to wanting to show the perfection, wanting to show the final victory, the story where there's a happy ending. But to be honest, there's so much unhappy moments in between, and I feel like I want to be able to talk about that more and share it on this channel to show just the humanness of my life. Once we're able to love ourselves through the journey of bettering ourselves, then I feel like we can be more loving towards others. Because I notice for myself, when I'm not loving myself through my imperfections, it's so easy for me to judge other people that are messing up, that are doing things that I would judge as bad, but it's like we don't know the struggle that they're going through. We don't know why they're turning to certain things for certain reasons, and we should just love on each other despite that. We can get to understand each other more instead of just judging it from a surface level. And so I think love is the answer. To be able to love myself, to know that it's okay that I'm struggling. It's okay to love myself after I'm struggling, because I know that I can get out of this, that I'm not perfect, but I'm trying to be better, and that's what matters, as long as I have that desire to become better. And I think all of us, we do have those intentions, but our journey may not always seem like that. Loving ourselves at the end of the day is an act to help us love each other better. Alright, so I was editing the video of this section and I just realized I wanted to mention one more thing during this part. When I'm not loving myself in my imperfection, and again hiding in my shame and guilt, it's so much more difficult for me to allow others into my life. I just want to build these walls and barriers in which people should not know about this part of my life, or else I will feel judged. I feel like, how are they going to react? They would look at me differently. But at the end of the day, I've found out through my experience that just speaking your truth, just letting the people around you, if you have a safe space of loved ones, that letting them know what you're going through, what you're struggling with, there's so much power in that. There's so much freedom in speaking your struggle, your truth, that you just feel like you're not alone, because now you're not the only one that knows. And so I truly think that when we do allow people to see our imperfections, we allow love in as well. And it becomes also easier to love ourselves, because then we start to see that, wow, like my family, my friends, my true friends, they still love me despite what I'm going through. And they're still there for me. Breathing into our imperfections also just doesn't mean that we have to go through it alone, but truly the ones that really love us around us are the ones that can breathe with us in these moments that we feel imperfect. And so I just want to point that out, that it's important that we don't feel like we go through this stuff alone either, and that there's so much freedom in speaking truth to your unique imperfect story. Yeah, that's it. All right, resuming back. Yeah, breathe in imperfections. I think that's been a big lesson for me, because it's easy for me to not breathe in the imperfections and let myself suffocate by my imperfections and just beat myself up for it. But at the end of the day, it's just part of my story, and my journey through it is just normal, and we're all getting through it together. All right, so the third lesson that I got from this trip is to focus on the projects that I care about. When I'm moving down to LA sometime next year, I can already foresee that I want to just help other people on their projects and just expand my knowledge and skill set and just grow within film and just gain more tools to become a better storyteller. But a good reminder that I got during this trip is to continue to focus on the stories that I care about. For me, I love stories about culture, about my family. They're stories that I have yet to tell, have yet to film. Oh my gosh. There are stories that I've yet to tell, yet to film here in San Jose, whether it's my family's immigration story from Vietnam to America, That's a really big story for me that I want to tell, and it's so big that I've honestly delayed it for so long. It's difficult for me to even grasp where to begin and just that perfectionist stuff, but I'm gonna make it a priority for me to do that before I move to LA, because my mom's not getting any younger, my grandma's not getting any younger. I could always do the LA stuff another time, but I feel like the stuff that I have here at home, time's ticking, and I want to be able to get that done, or at least filming it before I move down to LA. Yeah, I think continuing during my time in LA is just thinking about what stories do I want to tell, whether it's about family, whether it's about my faith, projects that I care about, projects that I value, projects that I align with. Yeah, so that's the third lesson. Number 4, tell my story. And this is kind of doing that. This is me kind of exercising, telling my story, telling what I've learned from this trip from LA. So I'm kind of exercising that muscle here. So it starts here. As a storyteller, I'm always doing stuff for other people. And during this trip, I was reminded of just how much I've already been through in my life and how there's so much to be able to tell and share. And I think I want to be able to do that more, to be able to preserve these moments as if they're just time capsules and just kind of like reflect upon different moments of my life that I feel like I'm learning a lot, that I feel like this is a time where I feel like I can share about this, whether I'm going through it. I think the most difficult part about telling my story initially is again, feeling like I have to be finished with it. Like there has to be that happy ending. But I'm learning to just be able to tell the journey of my story. Even moving to LA, I want to kind of document my journey of what it's like to live in LA, what it's like to pursue freelance filmmaking in LA, and to show the raw, authentic ups and downs roller coaster journey of living there, and to just use these moments for a time for me to reflect out loud as well, to just document where I am at in life. Hopefully it can make other people feel less alone in their journey with wherever they're at. I think something that was really big as well, in addition to this lesson of telling my story, is that my story doesn't need to be told just once. It doesn't have to be told one way. Because for me, that's a big block for me, is thinking that it has to be this grand way, shot in such a cinematic way, like a short film. But during this trip, I learned that even just having a conversation with someone and sharing my story was me just sharing my story. It didn't have to be this fancy tripod podcast, lighting and everything, where it's how I wanted it to be so perfect. It could just be me having a conversation. And I think that's what I'm learning, is that my story doesn't have to be told just once. Shout out to Jean for that message specifically. This is the start of it. I'm trying to do more of that. Stay tuned for a lot of other stories that I have yet to tell. It's exciting, it's scary, it's all of the emotions above, but I'm sure it'll be worth it. We are here to the final lesson of number 5. The final lesson. And what is it? The lesson is, I am here where I'm supposed to be, and so are you. During this trip to LA, it truly felt like I was living there, like I was supposed to be there. I'm in this transition of my life right now where I'm figuring out this next chapter of where I want to be. I've always taken trips to LA where it was for like Disneyland, it was to visit someone, it was to just do a few things, and usually with people. So going alone and doing all the things that I did, it felt like I was living there, and it felt so right. It felt like that was where I was supposed to be. What I'm going through right now is what I'm supposed to be going through. It felt just right. And to be able to go and take that trip, everything just clicked. Months ago, I would have never saw this coming. I would have never seen myself taking this step to revisit this dream of mine. It's just crazy how life is, where we don't always expect things to turn out the way they are, or lead to what they have led to. But when we look back in hindsight, when we look back of how our life has come to now, it's the perfect imperfect story. I remember moments where I was disappointed with where I was in life in terms of, oh, I wish I had gone to college in LA. I wish I had done this. I wish I had worked with these people. But I feel like all of these different pieces all ended up falling into the same place of where I am now and what I've done and what I get to do and the people I've gotten to meet. It all worked out anyways. And I feel like even if it doesn't make sense right now, where you are, I can honestly say that it will make sense, that you are where you're supposed to be. Just know that. I'm so grateful for everything that's happened in my life up to this moment, and to just know that I'm where I'm supposed to be. And I thank you to everyone that's been a part of the journey so far to help me get here. I think that's it. That's number 5. But yeah, there was so much overthinking to even begin this video, but I tried my best to merge the different ideas that I had and just wanting to talk more organically and naturally without it having to be a whole cinematic masterpiece, because I'm also going to Vietnam in 2 more weeks for the first time, to the motherland. So I wanted to just do what I can with the short amount of time that I had without overthinking it. So this is it. Hope it turns out great. I don't know, but let me know in the comments what you guys think. I think there might be some videos that are gonna drop prior to 2023. Some interviews that I did down in LA with some amazing people that I got to meet and have amazing conversations with. I recorded it kind of like a podcast, so stay tuned for that. You'll get to meet some amazing people and just be a part of the conversation that we had. So stay tuned for that. Thanks guys for watching. I'll see you next time.